Hey team, Valentine here from Balvo Rugby Resource, another position workshop. Today we're talking to our centres and we have Joe Tomane on, currently playing for Leinster, formerly of the Wallabies and the Brumbies, and also used to play league professionally as well. He talks to us about the importance of scanning the opposition, knowing what the opposition is going to do or how they usually behave, and he talks to us about expressing yourself and committing to that. The other great life lesson he talks about is how he's come to a place where he's really grateful for his opportunities, but also looks to pass on the blessings that he's received. Hope you boys enjoyed this as much as I did. So back with another position workshop, and today we're talking about centres. We've got former Wallaby, full-time Scucks, ex-Brumby, Joe Tomane. So welcome on today.
Cheers, man. I appreciate you guys taking the time to have me on.
That's good, bro. We really appreciate it. Bro, just to start off with just a bit of background information on yourself. When did you start playing rugby? How old were you?
So I started when I was 6, but I grew up in sort of like a blue collar kind of area. Down south of Brisbane, there's a city called Logan, about 30 odd minutes south of Brisbane. And at that time when I was playing, they didn't have an age group for 6-year-olds, so I had to play a couple of years above, which was good because it sort of helped me, I guess, learn that you shouldn't receive participation medals. I learned those sort of hard lessons when I was young, and it was good. So started in south of Brisbane, and that's where the dream was sparked, I guess.
Nice. So you were playing up a few years, up against older kids then, sort of getting used to that physicality.
Yeah, and I think also just the mental side of the game. When you're 6, you really just want to play with your friends, but obviously, when you're playing against older kids, it gets a little bit more serious, and I guess that sort of fueled a little bit of a competitive drive in me, because I didn't really do too well when I first started.
Were you playing Union or were you playing League in Logan? What's it?
Nah, I was playing Union. So I grew up a Union kid. My dad loved rugby, and we watched rugby league, but I didn't really play rugby league too much at all in my childhood. The only time I really played it was when I started going to high school. I went to a rugby league high school called Marsden State High, so in south of Brisbane. I just sort of always played club rugby, but when you're with your mates at school, you tag along when they play league for school, and that was it. Really, that was my league exposure in my childhood.
Yeah. I guess we can talk about it a bit later, because I assume that some of that league background would have definitely attributed to the way that you play the game now.
Most definitely, man.
The boys here, there is a league scene here, but it's really small. So the boys might not necessarily know what we're talking about. We'll unpack that a bit later. Just a bit of a weird question, but I kind of, one of the boys asked, like Mick Carney was talking about like self-awareness and how that's like become a big thing for him in the last 5-6 years. Can you recall like the first time you realized that you had some potential, or like you were decent, or you were a good rugby player and you had some talent? Can you recall that? In what age group?
Geez. Not really, man. Like, I think. Actually, no. Yeah, I can. I think it was when I just signed my second professional contract to move back home with the Gold Coast Titans. Is when I was back playing rugby league, and I sort of let myself go because I was kind of fortunate that a lot of things sort of fell in my lap, really. And it was more so of a wake-up call to realize that shit. Hey, I got some skills. I haven't been utilizing them as much. I just kind of assumed that everything would just fall into place, and kind of forgot how to sort of work hard. You know, when you're younger, you just sort of think, oh, you know, things are just going to work out for you. But you know, I sort of found out the hard way, like quite early on in my career, and I'm grateful that happened, because it sort of awakened like a bit of a spirit inside me to just say, hey, like, if you want to do this, you got to do it properly. And I think ever since then, I kind of tried to find the right balance in how I want to conduct myself as a professional athlete. And yeah, I wouldn't say that I completely found that balance right now, but that's more so because, you know, in life you sort of learn and you pick up new things every time. So I think what I have done is I've just tried to expose myself to learning as much as possible, and trying to find ways to evolve as a player, and then in turn as a person as well.
Nice. That's epic. Bro, and just again, reframing what rugby might mean to us, you know, different side of the world to Ireland, and then, you know, be pretty different background to a lot of the young lads at school. For you, like, what did rugby mean to you? In terms of your upbringing, was that like the ticket? Was that the golden ticket? Because I know for a lot of us and a lot of our friends, that was our one opportunity to make it.
Yeah, I think when I was young, I always thought, you know, it was a good opportunity to set my family up. But you know, I grew up poor. You know, and I'm like really proud of it, because it taught me, I guess, to love life and not chase after things that, you know, didn't make sense. If that makes sense. I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, yeah, I never sort of found wanting to get out of rugby, like possessions out of rugby, if you know, because I grew up without possessions, and I understood that, and I was much happier, you know, with all of that. I always thought when I was young, I wanted to, you know, give my family the life that they always wanted. And it wasn't really until, you know, in the middle of my career that I realized that my family have the life they wanted. They just wanted to be loved, and they wanted to be, I guess, cared for. Things that, you know, sometimes money complicates, or, you know, what rugby can give you. It kind of complicates things like that. So, you know, I think that sort of drove more of a passion for the game and more of a love for the game, which was good, because then, you know, my drive wasn't about, you know, signing the big contract. It was more so just loving something that that you've always loved, and it's kind of like unfortunately, you know, with sport, it's a one-sided relationship, because sometimes at some point you're gonna have to let it go, but it's more so embracing something that that you love, and you know, having that little inner child happy.
Yeah, because what I'm hearing there, and like again, similar to you, like we didn't grow up with much, so sport was always like, and like as I was saying earlier, for a lot of us and a lot of our you know, our mates, you know, where we came from, that was the golden ticket. It was the way out of the struggle. Rah. It meant opportunity, whether it meant financially or exposure or whatever it was. But what I'm hearing here is like, that's, you saw it as a vehicle to earn money and the rest of it, but then you realize, actually, if my end goal is to make my family happy, but actually asking them, it doesn't necessarily mean all of that. It means, like, for most of the time, it's just them seeing you happy and you enjoying what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I know,
exactly. I mean, I wouldn't get like too twisted in the fact that, like, I understand how fortunate I am, and one of the things that I've learned with my career is I've just got to make the most of the opportunities I've been given. So I'm not going to go squander or try and squander everything that I've sort of built my professional career. But I think it's more so understanding that, the things that I've gotten from rugby don't necessarily define me as a person.
Yeah, nice.
And that's
nice.
where I sort of had a bit of growth throughout my career.
Yeah, and it's quite freeing in that as well, because suddenly you're not defined by your last performance or your last game.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And I think I always want to just make sure that I'm as true as possible to when I am showcasing who I am to people. I want them to see the real me, or like as much as possible, like just to try and be as honest as I can be, and allowing people to see who I really am. So then, my character isn't defined by something that I do.
Yeah, nice. I really appreciate that. And it's a good way to start, because often when we look at professional players, it's always all we see is the game side of it. But then when you realize what's really going on behind there, it's massive. Like, and one of the coaches has just written in here saying to me, he's like, "Oh, lifestyle first, and then sport second." As in, like, sport would look after itself when you sort out this part here, which is
100%.
I know something that you're passionate about as well. But we'll just move on real to the next one. It's a weird question. Every player I've asked hasn't liked answering it, and I'm going to know for a fact that culturally you're going to hate this. But bro, if you were to describe yourself as a player, like you had a LinkedIn blurb, Joe Tomane, professional rugby player, bang, what's your blurb? What are you going to say about yourself as a rugby player? What defines you on the field?
I'll probably say risk taker. It's a style that I guess a lot of Islanders play. You watch. We grow up playing high risk. That's just how it is. I know coaches don't like it too much, but it's embedded in us. It's the style that we grow up playing. Like and I think coaches now are starting to understand how to like nurture that part of a player and making it fit in within the game style. Understanding, they don't want to lose what a player brings, but they also don't want it to be completely controlling of who they are as a player. So I guess I'd say I'm a risk taker.
I like it. Look, when you're taking risks all the time, then you get good at it. That's what I reckon.
Well, it's more so like you never know unless you do it, and if it comes off, it comes off. Like I try and play the game that way, like don't want to dive into, I guess, the unknown. I'd rather just find out. And
you'd rather ask the question, like, I'm gonna go and try.
And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like if people get angry, that's fine. I don't take it to heart. That's the way that I play. It's probably not going to, mean that I'll play a 20-year career or whatever, because when it comes down to business, it's it's all about risk reward, really. But, I'm high risk.
There's a couple of coaches in here. I know that they're just sitting on the other side going, "Don't tell the kids that. Don't tell them that."
Look, coaches these days are good, man. They're good. They're going to find out ways to nurture that side of rugby players. While making it fit within the system that they want to play.
Yeah, and that's what I kind of like about I like Ireland in terms of the Northern Hemisphere, because it reminds me of that, like the GAR background. You see guys a bit looser, and they're willing to give it a crack, especially in the backs. They'll take the outside, they'll have a go. So I like that. Express yourself. Yeah,
I mean, and that's sort of like the way that Aussies play as well. Australians, they've always had that just have a go sort of mentality. And like back in their glory days, the Wallabies, when they sort of had that mentality, they were able to accomplish some great things, and I feel like they've sort of fallen away from that a little bit. And who knows, if they bring it back, they might be able to accomplish some good things.
No doubt, no doubt. Bro, interest outside of rugby?
I have a lot of interest in other sports. Right now with this whole pandemic, I've sort of found an interest in startup companies, or like starting up businesses, and reading into stock market for some reason. I think I'm thinking this way because I know I'm sort of at the end of, well, not the end, but I'm kind of heading towards the back end of my career. So like I said before, like utilizing all the opportunities that I've had, I think right now it's just giving me a good time to really focus and think about life after rugby. So I'd say, yeah, maybe business, starting up businesses and stuff, and sport. I love golf, I love boxing, and I love basketball. They're probably my three favorite sports other than rugby.
Yeah, I heard this through the grapevine that you're a bit of a handy golfer. Is this true? Are you part-time?
If I can bomb it a long way, but sometimes it's not straight. It's usually to the right or straight, So
No, I'm with you on the
I wouldn't
slice.
say I'm a handy golfer. I can hit it far when I connect it, man. That's it.
Nice. And before we get into like the centre rugby specific stuff, bro, and this is to put you on the spot. Sorry, not sorry, but like given the nature of our school, like we're a pretty strong Jesuit like Catholic school, really big on social justice. Serving those around us, our community, inner city, North Dublin. Do lots of fundraising and stuff for those communities and the homeless. For you, Faith, just a little bit about that, just in terms of what it means to you, how that helps you in your sporting career and your performance and your life just in general.
I think I'm fortunate enough to be given an opportunity to, I guess, see out a dream that I've always had, and part of that dream comes with the responsibility to uphold a certain type of character within your community, and what that does is it really strengthens your gratitude for what you have once you share it with people who might not be as fortunate as you. So I think that part of rugby is hugely important because it helps me grow as a person. And I, like I said, one of the things that I've learned throughout my career is that I'm constantly evolving as a person, and I got to learn as much as possible if I want to evolve. So caring for your community and caring for your fellow man or your fellow woman is hugely important because it directly reflects who you want to be and how you want to be treated as well. So like I take my hat off to people who do a lot of community work, who do work in with charities. It just shows that you as a person get more out of it than the person you're actually helping as well.
Nice, bro. All right, so bro, we'll rip into some of this rugby specific stuff. So on online here, we've probably got like a dozen centres from school, just different age groups. So I've just got a couple of questions. Just to start off with, what do you see as your core roles as a centre?
Well, there's all sorts of specifics that come within a certain game plan, and it mainly depends on what your game plan is. My role at Leinster is sort of a bit of a battering ram, I guess you could say, because I get a lot of our plays off set piece. depend on me to get good gain line to, I guess, sort of open up space in the wider channels. So working on, I guess, speed and power is usually important for me to I guess, fulfill my duty in the team, and that's breaking tackles and hopefully getting good gain line. But then you got other teams that have 12s that are more crafty with the ball. So, you know, it's coaches are smart enough to utilize each person's talents within their game plan. So I guess my role within Leinster right now is obviously gain line, but that doesn't mean that, like, you know, a guy who plays 12 has to be a battering ram. You know, it all depends on the skill set that you have. But in saying that, like, we have to enhance those sort of skill sets, because there are going to come times when during the game where you're going to have to make a pass under pressure. Under pressure, and so on.
Yeah, no, nice. And then, so if you're at 12 and you're outside 10, what sort of comms are you giving either the inside player, which is usually a 10, or the outside player at 13? What comms are you giving, and sort of like how are you helping them in their roles?
Well, especially to 10, like I'm his extra set of eyes, so I'm telling him how much time he has, if he can take the line on more. I'm giving him early comms if we're running like specific moves. I'm just giving him sort of, I guess, more. I'm giving him communication on what's happening outside of him, because generally he's focused on, you know, what's happening inside, how he wants to receive the ball from 9, and then, you know, I'm sort of giving him that communication, whether we're running a certain play, or if I want him to play me early, or if there's kick space in behind the line, like, you know what I mean? I play the role of his second pair of eyes, just sort of helping him see what he may not see.
Yeah. Are you constantly talking to him? Or is it broken, or is it like just when you see stuff, or are you just chirping? Are you chirping in?
I think tens are they're good enough to know. They will let you know. Good 10s will let you know if they want you to talk more. So I try and make a habit of talking more, that more often than not, you know. And, you know, my communication, the importance of my communication is vital to the 10, because I'm trying to feed information from the outside in. So we talk about, you know, the wingers having the most important role in terms of communication, because they have the most time to see things that, you know, the guys inside them don't. So feeding in that information from the outside in is hugely important. But it's more so for me, because I'm going to find myself next to, I guess, the director of our team.
Yeah.
So if he's not seeing something that guys out wide are seeing, it's important that I relay their messages to them to, I guess, maximize opportunities.
Yeah, well, so you're saying you're the connector in terms of, like, they see something outside, and if the team's not getting the information, it's generally the centre's fault.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, nice. And then just off that, like, if we're talking about attack, first of all, just talking about the lines that you run, like watching you pick some decent lines. Now, I'd say some of that comes from your league background, or it was definitely helped in that space. What are you looking for?
I try. First of all, it's really important to scan. We try and learn. Well, they try and teach us to scan under fatigue. So we try to play an up-tempo type of style, and that is reflective in our style of training. So we try to play quick, fast, or we train quick and fast, and that in turn just challenges our ability, I guess, to scan a picture. So more often than not, you got multiple options in different situations, and you know, sometimes I don't pick the right situation, right option in certain situations, but that's just how it is. So you know, you can never get everything right in rugby. So when it comes to like picking lines or knowing when to throw the pass, the best thing you could do is try to scan and take a picture of the defense as quick as possible, and then try and make your decision even quicker. In that, you'll be able to make you know, the right decisions more often than not.
Are there any body cues that you're looking for from the defense? So like if you're looking up, taking a picture, scanning, like you say, are there certain body cues that you might see from your opposite defender that would inform like your next action, whether or not you catch hard?
So like I'll look at a guy in front of me. If I'm seeing that his shoulders are slightly turning out, and then I'm looking at the numbers outside of him, and he's got no numbers, I know he's going to try and, you know, buy some time for his inside defenders. That's when I'll be able to take one-on-one opportunity for inside shoulder, or I could, you know, play flatter and make him turn his shoulders to me and then draw him past. You know, those are sort of that's what I was kind of saying in terms of, you know, having a variety of, I guess, options, even though for the same sort of style of defense. If I see guys are number up, then I'm seeing that they usually play like a high up, into out type of defense. I'm going to try and play inside their shoulders as well, and try and get gain line and quick play the ball, so then we can take them around the next phase. You know, so body language is hugely important. Understanding their body language of the players in front of me, but two, also understanding their defensive style, and trying to, I guess, manipulate their style as much as possible by, you know, picking and choosing what options you got.
Nice. And would you like, in terms of that manipulation, would you try things like starting wider and then moving, like changing the picture later, or do you have less movement in your setup, just in terms of before you strike? Do you do anything like that?
I tend not to.
Yeah.
What I try and think of is, look, if there's like a big defensive line, or if they have numbers up in defense, then I know I'm probably more or less not going to get the pass away out wide. So I've got to try and figure out a way to use footwork to get quick play the ball. So it all depends on what kind of defense I'm facing in front of me. If I have numbers down, well, then I need to understand, okay, so is this particular defender, is he going to try and slide off for me? Which means that'll open up the carry, or is he going to like bite in and turn in on me, and then that opens up the pass? Yep. And sort of those sort of cues you sort of have to pick up on reviewing games, and because you know, every player has his traits and what he tends to do in certain situations, and that's where the study comes in. Some players will try and buy time for their inside defenders, and some guys will try and jam and try and close it off on the pass, and some guys will try and play the game where they, you know, they're saying, their body language is saying they're buying time, and then at a moment they, you know, press you. So it's all based on, one, seeing how many of the numbers are in there, and then two, seeing how each individual person defends, you know. So.
Yeah. No, this is good. So it's basically what you're saying is, what you're saying is there's just a heap of information that you got to gather in order to make that decision. And you're saying,
yeah, there is, but you know, I also said that you know, you're not going to make the right decision like every time. You know, it's just impossible. You know, no one's perfect, but it more so comes down to backing the decision that you make and doing everything you can to make it work. So if
Nice.
there's an overlap, but you don't make the pass, we'll make the carry work, and then we'll get them on the next phase. You know, that's sort of the mentality you got to have. That whatever option you're making, do it 100% and make it work.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, no, I'm getting that vibe now. It's like the commit to whatever you're doing. Don't just like you say. If you can't pass it, carry hard and then set up.
Yeah.
Nice. And what I'm hearing again from you is that like you don't mind being the pawn in the chess set, like setting up phases or setting up plays, because that's that's your role. You understand that's your role.
Yeah, not at all, man. Like I understand that, like from like a set piece point of view, I understand that like that'll be either my role. So I'm either carrying and trying to break tackles, or I'm trying to hold defenders to create space out wide. That's just
nice.
And the only way I can do that is if I actually break tackles. So like every time I carry, I've got to make sure that defenders are going to be looking at me when I don't carry.
Yeah, nice. You got to get them to bite on. I think it goes back to, we were talking about basketball last night, we were giving a laugh about the assists. But like different sports, you can see like some guys in basketball, they're not the guys who shoot all the 3-pointers. They're just the guys who rebound, and it's like finding your role within the team and the game plan, and how the coaches want you to operate, and just doing that as well as you can.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my specific set of skills aren't going to be relative to every team. Like some coaches like to play a different style within certain positions, and that's just how it is. So I guess one thing I'd want to encourage people is just to understand like what you bring to the table, and make coaches believe that they have a use for it.
Yeah, that's good.
And the only way that coaches will actually believe that they could use a player is if the player believes that they have the skill set to that is useful.
Yeah, nice. That's there's like a huge shift in thinking, in terms of like work-ons or weaknesses. Obviously, it's important to do your work-ons because we want to make sure that we're getting better in every facet of the game. But what we've heard over the last week from different players is know what you're good at and your strengths, and make them stronger, because they're going to make you a better player, and that gives you more confidence to actually apply yourself to the things you're not so good at.
Yeah, and I think the one thing I'd want to add on to that is to not compromise the style that you like to play as a player, because I've gone through this throughout my career. I've missed out on team selections because they wanted a certain player who did things that maybe I wasn't as good at, and then I'd go in and try and work on that thing that I wasn't as good as that player. But then what I was good at was starting to slip away. So there are so many variables in terms of rugby. So you got to be able to control what you can control, and what you can control is what you're good at, while also working on, I guess, the things that you aren't good at. But it should never compromise what makes you the player you are.
Nice. Just going back to scanning, bro, just the last question on the scanning there. When you're scanning, are you looking from are you looking corner flag to corner flag, like coast to coast, or are you just looking in front of you and outside? Just what's your head doing?
I'm looking at I try and scan the whole field, but what I'm also am looking at cues and looking for mismatches.
Yeah.
And to be able to do that, what makes it easier is understanding how teams defend, understanding the systems, and understanding traits that certain players have. So it's not something that you can just go into a game understanding. It's something that you build during the week, and you figure out, okay, this team defends with 14 players up. one person in the back, but their two wingers are slightly off all the time. So that's their system, right?
Yep.
Now I've got to see, okay, where are the weaknesses in that system? The weaknesses is the wingers aren't high. So there's always going to be a bit of space on the edge. We're not going to make like huge breaks all the time, but if we take spaces on the edge, it allows us to play quick, and that's when we speed up the game, and then we try and play behind them. You know, then you got teams that play, you know, with 12 in the front line, 2 in the back, and the halfback that's sort of plugged. So now you look at, okay, you got to play through the middle and try and get them playing behind the ball, and then you'll find your mismatches because there's always going to be someone out of place that no one has to plug, or, you know, it's those are sort of things that come to when it comes to scanning, because you need to understand how each team defends, and then how each defender will defend, and then back yourself in the process of making decisions. I wish I could give a simpler answer, but it's
No, it's good. It's good. It's
like it's more so. I think the best advice I could give for centers is understanding, like, in attack, you got to understand how each team defends, and then you sort of look at it from a team philosophy, and then you let your game fit in with your team's philosophy and attack, and that's where your scanning comes in and improves.
Yeah. No, that's good. Again, ties in with some of the themes that the boys have been going on about, like whether it's self-awareness about what you're doing, or awareness of what the others are doing. So you're still aware of your space, but it's aware of what the opposition are doing to your space. And you're like, okay,
exactly.
how can we utilize this? But I love the way, you say you wish you could do it simpler. I think that was quite a good way of describing it. But like, I'm quite visual, and all I can see, or what I'm seeing when you're talking about it, is just like that. Like you're not afraid to like take the phases to set up somewhere else. And if we don't find the space there, well, we'll try something else and we'll find it elsewhere. Like we're always going to find the space. It's like, sorry, when you're talking through a tech, in my head, it's so positive because you're going, no, we're going to find the space. It's just it's not if, it's when.
Yeah, exactly, and that's how you sort of breed positive offense, right? Because like some things like just need to be, some teams you have to just wear them down for them to show you the chinks that they have. And the best way to do it is understanding their team's defensive philosophy and making your team's offense work within counteracting their philosophy and defense.
Yeah, nice. Switching the coin there, or flipping the coin over from the way you attack to the way you defend. What kind of, like, any tips for defense in the midfield? I know it depends on the defensive system, obviously, but what are your core roles within that? And then how do you personally insert yourself or apply yourself to that?
Okay, so you know, our team's philosophy is always inside shoulders. Always protect your inside shoulder. So I have always tried to work on having the ability to make attackers believe that my inside shoulder is covered, but also give myself the opportunity to push out and take whoever's outside me. So I've worked really hard on trying to stay as square as possible, and then watching what the ball players do with the ball, understanding what kind of lines are being run outside of me, so then I can make easier decisions. And so I think the first thing that I've tried to work on is scanning first. So say there's a ruck inside of me on my right, I'm scanning and seeing what the guys outside me are doing, you know, and trying to get a feel for what could be happening. Seeing, okay, well, there's a back row here. There's a good chance that he's going to try and run a short ball. I can see the 10's coming and he's sweeping around with the fullback. So there could be a possible block play coming on. I got to look. Okay, look, there's the 10 there. They got forwards in that ruck. They got a fullback sweeping, and they got someone who's a back rower. Like, I'm not knocking back rollers, but more often than not, they're not there to be linking to the edge. They're more so they're hitting hard lines. So understanding who's outside you is hugely important to reading the picture. So we focus on reading pictures and then staying as square as possible, making sure your inside shoulder is covered and you have the ability to push out. So I think I've sort of been molded into that sort of defensive player here. And, you know, the systems here have sort of have elevated me hugely in the way that I defend. Yeah.
No, I'd like, you know, you're talking and I'm going, can we catch up next week so you can teach me some of this? Because I'm like, even, and you know what it's like when you come from back home, or even in France, like the defense systems are so different. So like the way they do it here, they think about it so much more.
They're not in existence in France, if I'm being completely honest, man. But I guess the one thing I think players should take away from what I've just said, and this just to simplify it as much as I can, is you can only defend what you know what's coming. And the best way to, I guess, defend offense is to understand the picture.
Yeah.
So, you know, in front of you, you got to understand, okay, there's X amount of players in front of me, and I've got X amount of players outside of me and X amount of players inside of me. I know as a team, if we're numbered up, we can move up together, right?
Yeah.
But if we're numbers down, then okay, I've got to figure out a way to buy time for my inside defenders. So then by the time the ball gets to the edge, we're numbers up, and then we can move forward. So that's why communication is hugely important to you inside and outside, because you got to be relaying the certain type of calls. For me as a center, I'm usually the player that's defending inside the outside backs, but outside the forwards.
Yeah.
I've got to tell, especially the forwards, that are inside me, what I want for them to do. And then understand what's outside me. So I've got to give these guys as much confidence to, I guess, take on the players one-on-one that they have outside of me. So the one thing I think players should focus on is understanding the picture in front of you, and then you'll be able to make your decisions within your team philosophy.
That's nice, bro. Nice and simple too. Well, simple once you get to understand it.
Yeah, as simple as it can be, you know.
That's good. That's really good. Bro, I'm conscious of the time here. I've taken up heaps of your time, bro, and it's been really valuable. There's heaps of stuff. Look, we'll unpack this again. I'm sure the boys will go over this in their notes and be like, whoa, what did he say there? How did you do that? And then even for myself, I'm still learning. I'm like, oh, this is real helpful, particularly in terms of that inside shoulder. I'm not used to that. That's something it took me a whole year last year to sort of adjust to. So I'm learning there. Bro, before you wrap it up, any last bits of advice just for some young fellas coming through playing rugby?
Look, the most important thing that you could bring, I guess, if you want to add value to a team, is to understand who you are as a person, right? Nice. And don't ever lose sight of who you are as a person. Let your rugby reflect who you are, and you know, just try and be an open book as much as possible. You know, let people into who you are as a person, I guess, and allowing your rugby to reflect that, because you know you got to find joy in the things that you love, and the only way that you find joy is if you're true to who you are. You know, learning, like, rugby is constantly evolving, and you got to be open to learning as well, but at the same time, don't let it compromise who you are as a person.
Yeah, I think like when you're talking, I'm hearing like the word identity in my head. I'm like, bro, when you know what your identity is and who you are, how you play. You almost carry yourself differently. Like you're reassured.
Yeah,
about
100%.
you play.
100%. And you know, certain enough, your team will believe in who you are as well. You know, like that. Those sort of things take time. It's not always instant. But yeah, just find who you are as a person and allow people to see it, man. That's probably the best way to put it.
Nice. Shout out, Ools. Bro, on behalf of the boys at Belvedere, just want to say thanks for your time, man, and I appreciate it.
No worries at all, bro. I'm an open book, man. Seriously, if you guys have any other questions, or if a lot of the things that I said didn't make sense, just reach out to me on Instagram or whatever way possible. Valentine will let you know how to get in touch with me, man. I'm honestly an open book, and I'm happy to help.
Shout out. Thanks for that, bro. We'll take some feedback from the lads in the next week or so, and I'll flick it on to you as well. I'm sure there's plenty of outtakes from this. So, bro, good luck for the rest of your isolation training. Keep the motivation up.
I appreciate that, bro.
And good
Thanks
luck
so much
keeping
me,
those skinnies down, mate.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks, Jules.
Shout out. Take care.
Top man.
Cheers.